What's good, Top Nation, Top Family? It's your girl Toya G. Happy to be with y'all. Let me set off. I got the show playing in the background. Where is that coming from? Boom. What's good, y'all? Good evening. What's going on? What's going down? It's your girl Toya G. Happy to be with y'all on another Thursday night. Happy to have y'all with me. This other guy that's with us is all right, I suppose. This is the political plug. Plug. Say hello to the people.
This is who she with. This is who she get to rock with. What's going on,
Line of
folks?
y'all like
Happy to be with y'all on another Thursday. Let's get it. What's cracking?
lining y'all out the gate, talking about the best person ever. Either way it goes, he all right. Y'all way better. Uh, we got some stuff to talk about. You know, the end of the year is upon us. I feel like this week, by the way, this week has been moving very slow, but today is a holiday. If y'all are of the Twitter allure, and y'all know this is the day we get our superpowers. And that has been a running joke in the Twitter land for a long.
All right, Toya dropped out on us. She'll be back here soon. But pretty much what she was getting into was discussing as we get towards the end of the year. It's a lot of things that we end up having to deal with. This year, as I can see, we have the elections going on coming up in 2024. You got all this crazy news about Diddy and what's his name, TD Jakes, and really a question like really trying to figure out where does that all come from. And where does that legitimacy that we listen to these people stem from? Toya is back with us. You can go ahead
What's
and
up, y'all?
continue, ma'am.
My bad. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to celebrate with y'all this day where we recognize the black superpowers of black people. Also, today is Samuel L. Jackson's birthday, so we have decided to make him the figurehead of this holiday. When it comes to
Did
the
we?
superpowers, because like my superpowers, I've been being told since I was a child, and you know I talk to differently. Not since I was a child, really since I was a young macaroni in like late high school, college. That you know I could talk the jaws off of anybody. Now I don't know about the jaws off, but I translate that to mean that I'm a very persuasive individual. So my
Right.
superpowers is just give me a minute. You feel me? Like that's what I'm good at. That's my
Yeah.
superpower. All I need is a moment. Plug. What
Yeah.
is your superpower? Real quick. What you think it is?
Uh, I think if that's your superpower, my
Yeah.
superpower is the exact opposite. Like I can piss niggas off in a quick second. Like I have the ability to say some shit and then just irritate everybody in the room. Everybody.
Yeah.
And if anybody knows this like better than anybody else is Toya, because
Yeah.
as we make content together, if I say something about Democrats, Republicans is on my neck. If I say something about Republicans, Democrats is on my neck. I'm never on nobody's side, regardless of what the fuck I say. You
It's
feel me?
true. It's
So
true.
my
Dama
ability to
Dama
piss off both sides of every issue, I think, is
Plug
very.
really knows how to draw some long sides, you know. But also a good chuckle and a good laugh from your soul, and every now and again some shit that you struggle to disagree with. So it's all mixed in and rolled into this package deal. But shout out to the superpowers that you have. Shout out to the people we got in here rocking with us tonight. J Universe, Andrea, Dina. My
The
bad. I
family.
know things started off roughly with and Andrea Pete says it's the Gemini in me. You know what I'm saying? It's the master communicator in me. I
Mm.
acknowledge that. But it's great to be with y'all tonight. Great to rock with y'all. I belabored this long enough. I didn't messed up. I didn't left out the conversation plug. Go ahead and jump into it. What we talking about first tonight?
All right, so I know y'all want to talk about Diddy and what's his name, TD Jakes and all that, and we're gonna get to that. I promise you, we're gonna get to that. But we have some election conversation, kinda not really. You know what I'm saying? But very, it has to do with the upcoming election, and that has to do with the Supreme Court. Cause I don't know if y'all been paying attention in which I've been tapped into, but the Supreme Court is about to be one of the key factions, key figures in whether or not Donald Trump will be eligible to be on the ballot, whether or not he's eligible for prosecution, all of those types of things. And this is while Donald Trump is, as we all know, the leading candidate for the Republican Party. So
By a lot.
just to put y'all up on game, what kind of sparked a lot of this conversation is there was a very recent ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court. a very recent ruling by the Colorado Supreme Court that put Trump's candidacy in jeopardy and his ability to compete. So the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that Trump is disqualified from presidency for the January 6th riot. Now, to give y'all a little bit of background, this got to the Colorado Supreme Court based off a lower court decision. There were, I think it was like 6 Colorado voters that sued the state of Colorado to have Trump's name taken off the ballot. The grounds that they used to have him made ineligible was what's known as the 14th Amendment Insurrection Clause. And the Insurrection Clause states that anybody that's ever held office or any officer that is supposed to uphold the Constitution, if that individual engages in any form of insurrection, then they're no longer eligible to hold office in the United States, right? The lower court found that Donald Trump engaged in an insurrection. But they argued that because he wasn't technically an officer of the United States, then he's not made ineligible by the 14th Amendment. Though it's really some semantic bullshit, right? Like the Trump team literally argued that the president isn't a officer to uphold the United States or uphold the Constitution. What kind of sense does that make? But the lower court bit, right? The lower court bit. And so now it got pushed up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court actually ruled against the lower court and was like, nah, that shit was some insurrection. So what it says here at CBS News, the landmark decision from the divided Colorado Supreme Court that Trump cannot hold public office under the Civil War era provision is unprecedented, and it marks the first time a court has found him ineligible to return to the White House due to his conduct surrounding the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. All right. What's important to note is that there are lawsuits challenging Trump's candidacy in more than 25 states. So upwards of 25, 26 states are already pursuing these types of cases. And
apparently Maine was looking like the closest to be next up in line to go ahead and get him off of there, get him out of there.
And we also got to note that the effort in Arizona failed already. That was already ruled against. So people aren't taking that lightly, right? They're looking at the fact that the president of the United States encouraged U.S. citizens to raid Congress while they were trying to certify votes. Right? That's being viewed as an insurrection in Colorado. What's important about that is that even though Colorado ruled on how they ruled, what we know is that Donald Trump is going to appeal and take it to the Supreme Court. All right. So boom, that's this one important thing that we know going to the Supreme Court.
Right.
The second important thing that's happening with the Supreme Court is that Jack Smith, who y'all may not know, but he is the special counsel that was hired by the Justice Department to pursue charges against Donald Trump based on what happened during January 6th as well. He's being accused of obstructing official proceedings. That's the charge, right? Donald Trump claim against that charge is that he has presidential immunity. His argument is that anything I did as president can't be prosecuted because as president, I had to do what I had to do as president. Jack Smith and him is arguing, Jack Smith and him is arguing that Donald Trump is on some bullshit when he say this because presidential immunity only covers things that you do within your scope of the president. Inciting a riot and telling these people to stop Congress from certifying votes, that's not within your purview as president, big dog. So you can't run that claim. Where does the Supreme Court come in? What's up? What you about to say?
Well, I mean, also, I just think the obvious is if that is going to be your defense, then that is de facto an admission of guilt, right? Like if you are saying that as a president, I should be able to do what I want to do, then that implies that you did what you had to do. And we don't agree with what you did. So we deny, and I think we should repudiate and completely just move away from this idea that you are absolved of your responsibility as president. But while we're here, while we're talking about it, you clearly have implicated yourself in wrongdoing. So
they have not made the claim. Yeah, they haven't made the claim that they didn't spur the insurrection. They haven't pushed back against that. So that's considered factual in both the lower courts and the Supreme Court. It's considered factual in the Colorado Supreme Court. It's considered factual that Donald Trump engaged in insurrection. All right, now. The Jack Smith case is pretty much what Jack Smith is telling the Supreme Court is like, hey, let's go ahead and expedite this. Let's go ahead and get this shit out the way.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to rule on whether or not Donald Trump has presidential immunity given what he did in the January 6th case. The Supreme Court was like, okay, cool. We're going to look and see if it is something we need to expedite, but we're also going to look into the question of whether or not the Justice Department is appropriately applying the obstruction of official proceedings charge. Because if
Mm.
that's true, then a lot of the January 6th defendants that's already been prosecuted, it could have all of their cases overturned.
My lord.
Okay, so the Supreme Court is poised to play a large fucking role in what this election is looking like, right? The last thing I want to
Mm.
point out to you, last thing I want to point out before we get into this dialogue, now that everybody's caught up, Donald Trump has stacked the Supreme Court with 3 different Supreme Court justices.
Facts.
Justice Brett Kavanaugh, Neil
Mm-hmm.
Gorsuch, and Amy
True.
Coney Barrett are all Trump appointed justices. And in a lot of cases, they've leaned in the direction that conservatives and far right conservatives have been pushing the court to lean to. And in the
Mm-hmm.
more in the 3 most specific cases where these Trump appointees played a large role is on abortion, overturning Roe v. Wade, overturning affirmative action, and pretty much instituting gay discrimination with the wedding planner and all of that, right?
Right.
So Trump has clearly had some impact on how
How
the
to feel
Supreme
that?
Court operates. Yeah,
How to ball?
clearly. Now Joe Biden got Ketanji Brown Jackson in there, the first black woman. So we're gonna talk about her later. But Toya,
Mm.
what I want to ask you, given all of that information, given all that data, the question that I have for you is: when you think of the role of the president, how much do you think about the Supreme Court?
I think more now than as I've ever been enticed to before. And I think I've been through like, let me see, 2 Obama, 1 Trump. Is it only been 4 elections, 4 presidencies, and then a Joe Biden? Help me
Hold
track that.
on,
We about the
Toya, I
same
can't I
age.
can't hear you. Did you unplug something?
No. What's up? Can y'all hear me? Talk to us in the chat. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
As I break some of this
your
down.
audio popping up. Maybe mine. Hold on.
What's good to Chris in the chat too? Y'all holler at me. Give me some feedback if y'all can hear what I'm talking about. But I feel like never before.
Hold on. I still can't hear you. Hold up.
Let me see. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Talk
go
to me
ahead
in
and
the
break it down
chat.
for the
What's
people,
good?
Toya. I'll be right back.
But nah, but what I'm saying is I don't think ever before we've seen bet. What's up, J Universe? Cool. I don't think we've ever seen like the need to be invested in the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? Like I think it has become such a chess piece. And I think we look at, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the different parties during the Obama era. I think during that first well, of course during the Trump era, this is when we started to see those changes. But since I've been voting, it hasn't been that serious. It was more about, at least especially from my black perspective and point, it was always about this one black conservative man in Clarence Thomas being on the Supreme Court, that we knew he didn't fuck with us. And he was skin folk and not kin folk. And then, you know, the women and the record makers and the historical people doing historical things to make it on the Supreme Court. But it was never like these people are having such huge implications. I think the biggest conversation about Supreme Court justices I ever even had was, I mean, I guess the biggest influential decision the Supreme Court had on my maturation was because Roe versus Wade was already in place. Probably was affirmative action. The conversations they was having about that, like I remember that being a piece of it, but never really equating that to who was being voted for. Never really equating the decisions they was making. And I mean, I probably can admit that Schoolhouse Rock. I probably should have listened and leaned in a little bit more to figure out the connections and even history, just to
Yeah.
logically understand with the 3 branches of government how voting for a president can implicate the Supreme Court. But that just wasn't a frame of reference that I was using. I thought they was so independent. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought it was like these 3 independent bodies that didn't intersect in the way that they did. I thought they was just like, "What's up, y'all good? Y'all good? We good? Y'all
Yeah.
good?" And then it was cool.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about presidents putting Supreme Court justices in place. So there was a connection there. There was a tie there. But I think the intricate nature of it is being, we can't ignore it now because we see like in real time so many landmark decisions happening in such a short amount of time. Like the Supreme Court been rocking and rolling. So that's my
So
take.
I yeah, and
Welcome
I
back
think
to
the
your
reason why
plug.
it happens. Yeah, yeah, I'm back in it. I'm back at it like a crack addict. But I feel like I've always kind of recognized that, but I think where we underestimate the power of the Supreme Court is like how old they be, because it's a lifetime position. So it's like some people live their whole lives without seeing a turnover in the Supreme, you know what I'm saying, the Supreme Court type shit, right? Like that's why like a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of them like either retired and then a couple of them passed, and that's how Donald Trump was able to do. It was like a perfect storm, right? And it's like you don't think that we'll get this terrible president who's gonna put a bunch of people, a bunch of who, let's not assume, but who could possibly be like terrible Supreme Court justices, and they was only put in there possibly, right? To be fair, possibly,
Yeah.
and they was only put in there to do Donald Trump's bidding. Go ahead, because actually I'll say
Can
this
I
because a
ask a
lot of people was
clarifying question?
oh go ahead, go ahead.
Go ahead. My bad.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say a lot of people thought that the reason why Donald Trump did what he did, like was so excited to pack the Supreme Court, was so that he can control election rulings and even possibly change motherfucking term limits, all of that type of shit. So yeah, like that, it was reason to believe that the people that Donald Trump put into the Supreme Court weren't aren't the best type of people to have there. But what was the clarifying question you had for me though?
I was about to ask a stupid question because I was about to be like, okay, and this stemmed from my debaters. I had my students for one of their topics for the final class debates was whether or not Supreme Court justices should have term limits. And one of the arguments that they should not have term limits is that by like the nature of them having term limits would make them more politically inclined. And by politically inclined, we mean, of course, judges are supposed to be objective. Now, you can get because my question was going to be, wait, do judges declare whether they are conservative, whether they're liberal, whether they're middle? But of course not, right? You just get an
Well,
understanding of their
well, they have those
voting nature.
politics. Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They don't say it. They're not like I am conservative justice Brett Kavanaugh. Instead, you just get kind of that understanding by the pattern of the decisions that they make, the history of the decisions that they make, and kind of some of the things that they
Well,
believe. You can ascertain what they believe,
how
right?
they well really how they get it is who put them in there. If a conservative president put you in there, then you're a conservative justice. If a liberal
Okay.
president puts you in there, then you're a liberal justice. Yeah, so it's like because it's
Well,
like they
so
gon' their politics, like the reason why like a Democratic president would be nominating a liberal justice because they more aligned with their politics.
exactly.
Yeah,
Right. So then I guess but I go back to my students' arguments, which talk about why, in a world, as much as we think about, the fact that some of the same justices have been in place for whole lifetimes, or why they don't change, or how some people die in office, it's like you run the risk then of not having that independent court be so independent. Right now, of course, we're having conversations now about the fact that they're not so independent anyway,
yeah.
and that they are grossly biased, particularly conservatives in the way that they make rulings or whatever. So,
No, what's the
of course,
term?
then that depends on what you
Compromise.
believe.
They compromise
Exactly.
among. Yeah,
Right, but I just think in a perfect world where we didn't have a constitution that already kind of parsed out the roles of the government and the balance of the whatever, we could just change some shit with the Supreme Court and it was easy. What would it be? And I don't know that term limits is the answer, but I think that
nah,
it would be interesting to just see the ebbs and flows of this country really be actualized through the court that is able to practition what it means for this country to exist. The
I think
same
it's
way
too.
the leader of this mug rotates in and out is the
Yeah,
same way that I think the people who get to interpret what the law means or what this country is about or the direction of it, I logically think that shit should change. I just don't know the perfect amount of time. Like, is it? It definitely can't be 4 years. I think maybe
yeah.
16, maybe just a cooler 20. Like
Um,
you get 5 rotations. You get 5 presidential rotations where you gotta let somebody else jump in here and see what's what.
I don't think term limits. I don't think term limits change much, and the reason why is because the reason why I think term limits like they I can argue against term limits is because how the Constitution is interpreted should change, but really it should only change so much. And when you have someone who, like for example, is more politicized, and you have to, it's like you really campaign to get it at this point, right? Then it becomes more about, all right, what can I do within the time that I'm there? So it becomes more
Mm-hmm.
political because you're trying to influence as much as you can, right? You're trying to pretty much, like, you know how in every president's last year they pass a whole bunch of shit 'cause they don't care about their popularity. They done, right? Same thing with Supreme Court justices, just rule in ways that when they get out of being a
I mean, but that's
justice.
one person versus like you still have to make that decision with nine other people. You know what I'm saying? So you get kind of the ability to go out with your big bang and do whatever, but you still have to win a majority. So,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I think that's different than the president who has to, with pen strokes, really go in and make their mark and make impression and shit.
But I
No?
think that the Supreme Court is actually more powerful than the president in this instance. Is that they can rule that some shit that the president then did is unconstitutional, just like they did with Joe Biden and the student loan forgiveness. Ruled that shit smooth unconstitutional. President couldn't do shit about
Right.
it, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's shouldn't be held to the same standard. It should be held to a higher standard, because like what they're literally interpreting is, what does the Constitution say about this thing that's happening right now? You feel me?
Yeah,
And
but different life experiences, different academic experiences, different professional experiences, like a Tandra Brown Jackson, is going to shape and shade how they interpret those things. Like, I just don't know why that's bad, especially if we're not letting you run up in there and do 4 years worth of damage and rally up your friends and your buddies and make voting clicks and then leave. You got to be there for a while. You know what I'm saying? So you have to. I don't know. Like, I think
but let's ask,
either
but
a
chat. We want to hear from y'all too. What do y'all think about term limits on the Supreme Court? I probably ain't
either
never
I
thought
think it
about it,
need
but
to
think about it right
be.
now.
I think there needs to either be term limits or I think there needs to be like a clear, because one of the biggest issues with like a lot of the Clarence Thomas things is that the code of conduct and the code of ethics is vaguely written
And
so that
very
it's hard to
loose,
even bring.
very loose.
So yeah, like I think maybe some of that needs to be tightened up because now we dealing with some new generation antics and a lot of bribery and a lot of Clarence Thomas was broke one day and now he bred it out the next day and on yachts and they're like, I got questions, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it should be easier than to call some of their behavior, because I mean, like maybe I don't agree with your politics, but you can't be on some raggedy ass politics and on some
Right.
raggedy ass real life shit and think you finna escape. Nah, we
But
gotta
let
talk about it.
but let me ask this though, because because you're a part of the non-voting crowd. A lot.
Hold on, breathe, breathe. You're a part of the non-voting crowd. Like, nigga, don't try to categorize me and collect me. Don't do that. Don't label me. I'm a conscious voter. I am a conscious participant in the political atmosphere, stratosphere, landscape. I do with my ballot what I feel like aligns with my conscience, but is also meaningfully participatory in the ways that society and my community in particular are moving in the directions by which they're shaped. So what you won't do is try to slander me real quick and real slow, talking about you a non-voter and shit.
Bro,
I don't let
how
that
is that
fly.
slander? If you a
Now,
non-voter, you a
AJ,
non-voter. How is that
I'm not
slander?
voting this time, but I have voted in presidential elections before. So you
Right.
are speaking incorrectly when you categorically
But
call
in the
me a
context
non-voter.
of the
What's
in the
up,
context
KJ?
of,
What's up, Tori?
man,
J
look,
Universe
see, and
said
that's the thing. We're
yes
not
to
about to
term
do that.
limits.
We're not about to do that. Cause see,
Andrea
cause I
said term limits too.
yeah,
Y'all see how
and
you
I
try to
see
do
that.
me?
I love y'all. I love y'all with the term limits. That could be another conversation. But check this out. Stand on business. I just posted a clip of you
Dominique.
talking about standing on business. It shouldn't matter
Yeah.
how it shouldn't matter how it sound. It shouldn't matter how it sound at all. If you standing on business, if you choosing to be a non-voter today, you are choosing to be a non-voter today. Stand on business.
Nah, bro.
Because
No, my nigga.
because no, I
Like
mean,
that's
because
terrible logic. That's
how?
terrible logic.
How?
That's terrible logic because
Have
number one, that is not a static position that I'm in. So for you to try to
it
lock
don't
me
have
into
to be
that locks
static.
me and binds me to the criticisms of that, which are shallow and don't really speak to the intricacies of the explanation that I
I'm
have
gonna
and the
let you finish that.
justification
Just
I've
watch
given you
this.
for not voting right now. So you trying to anchor and tie me to some bullshit to make a point, and I'm not gonna allow you to mischaracterize me, who I am, what my politics about, what my business is about, or
See,
how I'm
that's
standing on it.
either.
I'm not gonna let you do that to me.
Either
It's the games
stand
you
on it,
playing.
because look,
Man, save it.
regardless of what we've done in past elections, the question is, what are we doing in this election? I'm talking about this election, and if you have
Dominique, no,
chosen to,
we talking about No, you can't. Like, we talking about
because we,
politics over time. I do. We literally was talking
no,
about
we're
term limits.
not.
That's what I'm talking about.
But in the context of you being a non-voter, we're talking about in 2024. So
Make your point, man.
was Toya a voter in 2020? Yes, she
I'm not
was.
voting. I'm not voting for president in 2024. Q. Make your point. What is it?
Okay,
So now that
thank
we
you.
understand that I'm not voting, I'm not a non-voter, but I won't be
Oh my
voting.
God. Okay,
Now that we've
since
clarified,
you're a part of the not voting this time crowd, uh,
thank you. Talk to me nice. Talk to me nice. Thank you. Carry on.
you okay?
Words mean
All right,
things.
all right, okay, right. They do. I'll never deny that. I will never deny
Thank
that.
you.
So now that we've gotten past that part of it, all right. There's a large question that's looming. If we can recognize the threat that Donald Trump posed, or not even that he posed, the danger that Donald Trump created with how he stuffed the Supreme Court, right? Why isn't the implications of those things included in the calculus of how we feel about Joe Biden and Donald Trump? Because we're gonna talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson later, but the fact that because of Donald Trump, gay discrimination is now precedent, affirmative action is overturned, and Roe v. Wade is over. Like women, and we see the implications of that in Texas with the woman that literally had to leave the state because even though the court said yeah she could get it, the Texas Supreme Court said no she can't, and the Attorney General who himself barely still has his job because he was impeached, told any doctor in the state that if you did it, we prosecuting you to the fullest extent of the law.
Right.
So those are the implications of saying that, well, whoever win, right? Because that's what we got out of that. We now have a clear view of what we got out of that, especially as it pertains to the Supreme Court. So like, why doesn't that matter as much when we're saying that that the lesser of two evils is better in that instance?
I don't think that it matters any less. If anything, you've proven that it absolutely matters. I think what disappoints me as a left leaning voter is that, again, and I've said this before, Republicans seem to have the long vision, the foresight, the long sight, and the political strategizing to do these things. I have not heard. I guess we got Ketanji Brown Jackson, but like, let me see more of these conversations about Supreme Court justices. Let me see more conversations about justices being appointed in lower court. Like, these are not conversations that I'm commonly hearing and moves that I'm hearing from Democrats. I'm hearing a lot of that happening with Republicans. That is a not a bargaining chip, but a strategizing chip that they move to forward their politics. That momentum doesn't exist on the Democratic side. So I think that's my biggest issue is that clearly it's important. Clearly it's something we should care about. But for the first time in a long time, we're actually seeing it. With Obama, who did we get? We got Sotomayor.
Sotomayor, yeah.
And so, I don't know. And, to what extent presidents are able to hurry up and appoint people, that's the language that I don't have in the depth of the political system that I'm
Yeah.
not a part of. It
Yeah.
just seems like, in terms of chess pieces moving, Republicans have a larger grip and a deeper understanding of the importance and implications of forwarding that particular chess piece on the board than what Democrats have. They got some other priorities that don't seem to influence that one in the fact.
But I think that to me, I think that is more of the criticism of how liberals look at politics. Like even to a certain extent, leftists. Like our ability as leftists and on the left side of the spectrum to be able to cancel those who don't like perfectly fit within like our politics, kind of like the conversation we was having earlier that we gonna keep behind the scenes, but because they don't fit the cookie cutter approach of our politics, we immediately throw them out. Oh, you don't include this. Oh, you don't think about this. Oh, you're not involved in. And so
I don't think it's a you don't think about you consider. It's that you're not keeping up, my nigga. It's that they showing you what the moves is. They showing you what the play is, and I don't always know that there is a keeping up like that. In terms of, and I said this before, another great example of this is what we can understand to be a Republican agenda. I can give you a list of, don't matter what era, what president, what like what level of crazy they are on, what level of conservatism they own, whether it be moderate or staunch, they are committed. Immigration. Like I brought this up
Toya,
before
I
we was talking
agree.
about Chicago.
Yeah.
Like all I'm saying is, like the biggest
Now
reasons is
finish your
that the
point on
political
immigration though.
organizing. Well, no, my point on immigration, for example, is the idea that the huge reason why immigration has not been resolved is that Republicans know that that will always be an organizing and a galvanizing topic for them. They will always come together and agree about securitizing borders and shit like that. So they don't want to solve it because come hell or high water, the Democrats don't have a viable solution for it, and they know they can always get their rally cry up about how many jobs, how bad the economy is, how much crime is up, and then point at immigration, right? So it's just certain shit that's on a checklist that every voting cycle they're gonna hit, they're gonna protect, they're gonna take the distance. And Democrats don't have that. They shuffle and move shit around, and we don't have the Democrats don't have anything that they just like. We're not giving up on this. This is what we believe in. This is what we fight for.
But that's because, and I probably said this years ago as well. That's because like liberals and leftists, again, we are very segmented, right? You got the blacks, you got the gays, you got the Latinos, you got all of these different people that just like, yo, we in this silo, and even though these silos intersect in certain ways, it's very easy to get eliminated from this silo. Think about it's like Democrats can't have a Donald Trump because they're not willing to put certain things aside to be like, at least he gonna push this. Like it's certain people that only voted for Donald Trump because he was gonna get some justices that was gonna get rid of Roe v. Wade. What happened? You know what I mean? People could talk about a lot of the promises Donald Trump didn't fulfill, like that wall and shit. What he did with the Supreme Court allowed them to overcome a lot of liberal barriers that didn't exist, that heavily existed prior. You see what I'm saying? Liberals are too quick to be like, oh my God, a gaffe? He said something that was uncouth. Get him out of there. He shouldn't be they shouldn't be platformed. It happens too quickly. So it's like that type of unity you talking about is more of a question of, are we going to allow, like, yes, I am somebody who hates the way that I am a Republican that hates the way Donald Trump talks, but he's against Obamacare. Nigga, when it comes to liberals, shit, he doesn't properly use pronouns. Done. No vote. Get him out of here. He shouldn't be heard from ever again. They're not to be accepted. Is the pronoun shit important? Yes, it's important. But how important is it to be like nigga, you don't stand a chance. Anything after you fuck up pronouns, you're done. You know what I'm saying? That type of or even
And this is
especially
not the slight pronoun. This is not the
no,
slight
yeah, not
pronoun.
at all. Not slighting pronoun. Like I said, it's a very
a
important
valid example.
conversation. And that's another
Right.
example is black people. Black people. Let a nigga have a white wife. It's a wrap. Like that nigga could be the most pro-black. He could be a Stokely Carmichael ass nigga. You know what I'm saying? Who also had a non-black woman. You feel me? But he could be one of these type of niggas, and niggas like, oh, his wife is can't do it. Can't do it. So we like liberals and leftists have way too many what are they called in relationships? No goes.
Condition.
Or deal
Red flag.
breakers. Deal breakers.
Deal breaker.
Oh, I guess that's what they call it today. It's called red flags. Like, yeah, niggas call it red flags today. Or deal breakers, as they used to tell me back in the day. Yeah, that's a deal
I think
breaker.
both of them are apt.
Right. But we just got too many to allow for there to be a liberal Donald Trump. Or a liberal Donald Trump for real. So, with that being said, though, we could go ahead and transition to the next part of the conversation. Get into this, what is this, entertainment chop a little bit, social chop, if you will.
A little bit. A little bit. I mean, I don't know if y'all timelines anything like mine. They've been popping, and they've been
like
popping
button,
a little
hit
bit
that
more.
share button.
If you don't mind, and they've been popping a little bit more than just the usual. Now, and I mean just the usual in the sense that it's all types of, y'all already know. We don't really come on here to talk about bullshit unless we coming at it in a meaningful way, right? We let celebrities live their celebrity lives. We let all the kind of drama happen unless we have a unique kind of inroads to dealing with that. That's the standard we kind of set for ourselves. And so, it's been a lot of, all right, I ain't gonna, but it just start piling up. You know what I'm saying? Like certain stuff you look away from, but it's just like crazy. So easy stuff to look away from, but that also continues to find me on my timeline. And then I'm gonna just list stuff. And then, what's up? What's up, plug?
I just want to interject. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Please.
But y'all know I don't fuck with celebrity gossip at all. At all. But please continue though, tell you.
So I'm gonna talk about the tip of the iceberg, which I feel like is like the I think I'm gonna frame it as like the type of shit we that is always there, but that we've been able to look away from. And then I'm gonna get because y'all know icebergs is above the water. But then the bigger part of the iceberg that you don't really expect to hit you like that is below the surface. You know what I'm saying? Where the plot gets a little bit thicker, and all of a sudden you like, no, really, this shit is big. Like, wait a minute, like, what's
Oh,
good? And so I think tip of the iceberg type shit is like, for example, Blueface and Krishan. You know what I'm
oh
saying? Like,
my god.
listen, I can't stand these niggas, but they somehow they are diabolical and their issues find me. So apparently the baby not really his. He did a DNA test behind her back. Most recently, he texted her, said, "Bring the baby over here." She brings the baby over there only for him to beat her up and put hands on her, hit her all in the face and shit like that. She was on FaceTime driving 80 on Instagram or Facebook Live, Instagram Live probably, telling the world
Blueface
about
beat up Krishan?
apparently today, honey. But this is crazy. This is just nonstop. Nonstop conversation about it. So it's easier to tune it out, although the algorithm really pushes it, right?
Yeah.
It really I feel like my timeline has been curated, my timelines have been curated. I've been a heavy social media user since like the mid 2000s.
Hey,
And
and I will
and
I
I've
will
never
never
seen
every conversation, Toya sent me my Facebook invite.
I like to
Toya
be in the
sent
mix,
me
but
my Facebook invite.
I've never seen the heavy saturation of these people so heavy in my life.
Oh my
So that's
god.
just been kind of ongoing. But these last 2 months, they've been laying on some extra stuff on us. So y'all bear with me. So apparently, Tupac's killer finally confessed. If y'all have been following that, man's went to jail. Most recently, I think at least in the last 2 days, has come out and said, "Just playing, wasn't me. Um, I was just doing that for clout, for entertainment purposes, trying to make some money." Weird plot twist there, but considering it's Tupac, that was like that caused some
Not
conversation.
surprising. Yeah.
Kiki Palmer and her situation and her issue and her relationship.
Why are people
Have
still talking about them?
well, most recently, now because he had put out a restraining order against her. No, I'm sorry, she had put a restraining order against him, and that was all the news and all the buzz and when it's all craziness, that and the other. As recently as today or yesterday, he put out now a restraining order against her. So now it's a lot of claim, and because he claims that she was the one being abusive and beating her up, beating him up, and doing all this and doing all that. So it's craziness, right? But it has forced us to have what I'm seeing here, and there's a theme here. There's a theme here, and we're gonna point it out in a second.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Tupac, but we see the Kiki Palmer, we see Blueface and Krishan. Then, of course, most recently, the Diddy situation, and I mean the many iterations and versions of Diddy. We talking Diddy and Cassie,
Yeah.
which was wild, and then got resolved right before
Right.
Thanksgiving, and like
Man,
he
that shit got
settled, got
resolved
to
so
pay.
damn quick, boy. Ooh, that's
Man, for
dope.
like $30 million for some crazy amount of money.
Yeah, yeah.
But then that turned into conversations about Diddy and Usher. If y'all recall, because it was all the sex parties and all the stuff that was going on, and there was a
Yo,
lot of comments
Toya, I got a
about
question. Who goes
what's
back
up.
and find these interviews? Like, who
Well, no, this
literally?
wasn't from an interview. This is people putting two and two together because Cassie's reflections on that point in time and the atmosphere that she was in then forced people to speculate about the atmosphere that Ursha was in. And
When he was staying there, when he was staying at his
when he was
house.
younger and standing there. Then it was a clip. Then this is where it gets the clips, where then
Yeah.
people find clips of Usher talking about him staying at night, or Diddy was talking about them fighting like brothers with their shirts off and waking up next to each other and all types of
So
crazy
he
stuff.
was
Like these are
singing the
videos.
Usher in "I Need a Girl." Oh my god, he was rapping the Usher.
I
Stop!
don't
Don't say
know.
that. Don't
I
say
don't
that. We're not the chop up is not making that claim. I'm not endorsing
at
that at
all.
all. That was just a speculative statement that we are easily dismissing. Let's continue.
But the timeline cooked up with that. You know what I'm saying? Then we had Diddy, and then like three more people came out and accused him. Somebody said he violated them at Howard when he was there. I think somebody else said he had forced them to have sex. Just all types of crazy
He
things.
blew up Kid Cudi's car. How is
He
that?
blew up Kid
How was
Cudi.
that not bigger news?
But then people correlate. They look at Kid Cudi's, I guess, album cover that year that he came out with, and it's a picture of an explosion on. And people was like, it makes sense now. It all
Uh,
makes sense. that the
Uh,
album cover is disclosure. But then, of course, the
Jesus.
people Diddy are surrounded by all of a sudden start to experience accusations. That's been something that's been in the backdrop of things. Is like his right and left hand people, and then
Was caught
we
up in the
get
case. His man's was caught up
yeah.
in the case with him. Yeah.
And so just when we think we had gotten all of the Diddy that we could, and I see the comments is kind of moving real quick. Shout out to y'all for talking to us. Um, then the Christian Keys things happens. If y'all don't know who Christian Keys is, writer, producer, of All the King's Men, BET Plus, popular show that was based off some things that he wrote. Tyler Perry produces it.
Okay. Because I
Um,
was confused as who he was. Like, I'm like, Christian Keys. Who is
he
he?
also, if you did you watch a lot of the Medea plays?
I watched a long time ago. Yeah, yeah. On
He's in
bootleg,
Medea
like
Ghost.
everybody else in the early
Exactly.
2000s.
He's in
Yes.
Medea Goes to Jail. He the light skinned dude in Medea Goes to Jail. That was the
Okay.
dad. That was the police guard that was working, and the wife was at home having an affair on him while he was working at the prison, which is the prison Medea ends up going to. Let
Okay.
all the singing scenes commence. So Christian Keys gets on social media last week, 2 weeks ago, and is like, "Hey, amidst all these allegations, all this crazy stuff going on, I just want to let y'all know that women are not the only people dealing with this. That as a man, I've been specifically kind of provoked and enticed and pursued by an individual for years, right? And this person is rich and powerful, and is somebody who y'all see on a regular basis, and is basically just like
Is it
not who y'all
Diddy?
think they." So people are like, first they're like Diddy, and people are like, no, it's not Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Like it
It's
wouldn't be
Tyler
Diddy.
Perry?
And so people are like, it's Tyler Perry. So for a whole week, then you have these Tyler
God.
Perry jokes and memes and conversations and people trying to piece together whether Tyler Perry, but then they also end up being, of course, whenever you talk about Tyler Perry, then you have hate against black women, you have transphobia, you have just straight up just like people talking shit about him and who he is and what he's built in his movies and nigga in a dress, and then the Boondocks episode that had him in it also came up in conversation, and people were like,
Because he got
you know,
that
because
mother banned. He got that
he got it
blocked.
banned. So
Yeah.
people was like, this is more proof that he got something to hide. He don't, you know what I'm saying? So that dominated the timeline for a while.
Even though anybody would take offense to that type of shit, but whatever.
You know what I'm saying? So then the timeline, I mean, then social media is like, no, it's not Tyler Perry. It couldn't be. It doesn't make sense. He's literally actively on the show. Like, why would he blow up the spot in terms of somebody he actively working
Dina,
with?
Dina said they better leave my Tyler Perry alone.
You know what I'm saying? And
Man,
so
listen,
now,
Tyler Perry is ripe for these criticisms, though. We know this, because and the reason why is because that's the type of shit that you know how, for whatever, like the super masculine niggas when they talking about gay shit, they always equate it to some type of perversion. So
yeah,
it's like immediately when it's any type of homosexual thing, it's like the niggas we've been calling gay, yeah, they was on the perverted shit type shit. You know what I mean? So it makes it that much easier to run with that conversation because it's like now any type of accusations. We'll talk about the credibility of that type of shit later, but go ahead. It's just like as the wheels turn, I'm just like I hate when people make it easy to be bigots when you feel
yeah.
like you have a legitimate excuse to be on some gay bash and shit. You look at your that low hanging fruit like Tyler Perry, pluck that and then just but yeah.
It's just and it's I hate it. I hate it. It's disgusting. I think I hate it for all the obvious reasons. It's just like it always deviates from something that could be a much more material, meaningful conversation.
Right,
But
right.
they got
Because
off.
abuse is
They got off.
abuse. Because abuse is abuse. Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So this is all news we getting, and that's the theme. Abuse is abuse, and that's what we seeing throughout all of these kind of different stories. Even with, I mean, Tupac was murdered. That's the ultimate abuse. But outside of those examples, Kiki Palmer did it with Cassie, did it with Ursha, Diddy's assistants, Christian Keys, whatever. It's all been about abuse, and so this is all coming to a head. Right? Yesterday, day before yesterday, y'all got the same timelines as me. Now the whole word is that TD Jakes may or may not be, because he was also speculated to be connected with the Christian Keys conversation and with those issues. But separate from that, now it's like this woman has popped up on Instagram, and she's a nobody who had dropped no sources. And I want to be clear about that because I'm not saying I'm agreeing with what she said, that I'm co-signing what was in the video. But this
None of
woman,
that
who I
has
don't even know who
been
she is,
confirmed.
none of it. And she tried to save herself by being like, and I'm saying alleged because I want to be, that don't save nobody. That don't save. So I just want to be clear. I'm just sharing news, information, tea, context.
Now, and before you get into the tea, Toya,
Yeah.
because we got to be clear, right? These type of accusations happen on the internet. Wow. The funny thing about like these type of accusations that Toya bringing up, the Will Smith shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I live in the Hollywood area. So like my barber be on some Hollywood shit. Like he knows people. He's connected to people. Whatever. The nigga that's making the claims about Will Smith,
Mm-hmm.
my barber knows personally.
Correct.
Like literally showed me, pulled out the phone, like, bro, he was just in here. And
Right.
he was just fucking with the nigga. Like he was just rapping with the nigga that is making all these accusations about Will Smith. And he like, man, that nigga lying. You know what I'm saying? Now he could
Wow.
be in on the other side, you know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
trying to, cause like he's like kind of connected in Will Smith's circle. He knows some people in Will Smith's circle. And so he could be trying to like uphold the image and you know what I mean, whatever. But it's like that, like that's the whole shit up. That's the whole conversation about it. You know what I'm saying? Like I know like these niggas be in these circles, but are they telling the truth just because they saying some salacious shit?
And that's what is really the skepticism with this lady, because she said a lot, but one thing she did not say is the source of the information. So apparently, Cassie has opted to give you know information to the, like, this to potentially federal charges
Burner
connected.
phones?
Yeah, and so, but about Diddy, right? About Diddy and the crimes that he committed, where he committed them. Allegedly, somewhere in there's a boner phone from Kim Porter. Kim Porter gave it to Cassie, or Cassie has it in her possession. Is turning it over, and on this phone, there is evidence that one Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes uh, was being very problematically sexually participatory in homosexuality, as well
Mm.
as just kind of like specific types of deviance that would be even further frowned upon in the church
By the
house. I'm not
church.
going
By the church.
I'm not going to
And
use
be
the
and
language.
but behavior that you find very common in the church.
Well, and here's the thing, right? When I listen to this, I immediately think of Bishop Eddie Long. I don't know if you remember him, but Atlanta pastor, was a mega church pastor who also got caught up and was proven to have been having inappropriate relationships with, I think, teenagers,
Young boys.
but definitely
Teenage
young
boys.
boys,
Mm-hmm.
paying them, coming over to the house, doing all types of stuff, and then being sexually problematic. Now, that is minute compared to the powder keg that it would be if it is said to be,
TD
true
Jakes.
about Mr. Chitty Jake. So I guess my first question to you, now that I done laid out, and y'all be sure
A
to tell me
lot.
in the comments if I missed anything.
Yeah, 'cause that was a lot. Cause I ain't know about it. Half of that shit I only knew because we talked.
It's messy out here, child. And KJ
Yeah.
says, the only question is treatment toward his workers. I never cared about Tyler Perry's sexuality or wearing dresses or anyone else's choice to do, and I do the latter for that matter.
And hit that
And
like button. Hit
agree.
that like button. Hit that like button.
Definitely hit that
Also,
like,
we
hit that love button. Go ahead.
I was gonna say also we want to hear from the rest of y'all. I don't do not sit there and act like y'all ain't heard about one. Y'all clicked on the video because y'all seen TD Jakes and Puffy. Two, we want to hear from y'all, like, cause I'm not really tapped in like that. Like if I in order for me to find out what's going on Twitter, I just call Toya. I'm really on some old man shit. Like pick up the phone and dialogue. Like, hey, how are you? How's your day going? Type shit. So
Which is fair. I mean, I really feel like the only reason that I even catch it, because I'm not overly invested either, but it's like it's so intermingled with.
it's a part of
I mean, because
Twitter.
I just have been a Twitter user since like Twitter was popping. Like I think I
Yeah.
got on Twitter like 18 months after it became a thing. So I was still new on it. Like I think I've been on that
Elon
bad boy
Musk
for like
got y'all by
15 years.
y'all. Elon Musk got
I
y'all
mean,
by
it ain't even that. It's just, it deteriorates and it is terrible and it's gone through some changes. Literally, crashed last night. But when it comes to the way the information is disseminated, it just really is. It's up there. It's like
y'all. It
that.
works.
So
It works. I get you.
here's my question. Here's my question.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, we all are just like, we don't care, right? We're really not that invested. It really is not that deep to us. We're not really into all these people's personal lives. But like I said, it's a lot. And the shit has to do specifically here recently, not with just somebody cheating, not just with somebody, but like crimes of a sexual nature, abuse, violence. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that then is also, it elucidates to the fact that it don't matter how much money, how much privilege, how much power you have. You can either be a perpetrator of these crimes or be a victim of these crimes. And so we like to say we don't really care, but obviously we kind of do. We at least do a little bit. So, as intelligent people, as discerning individuals who use our minds and ears as filters for what we take in and what we give our energy and attention to, be honest, plug, because you like, I don't really care until Toya tell me, but then when I tell you, you be like, ooh, what's tea? So, what gets those wheels turning for you? What allows for you to take shit that's happening on the timeline and for it to even be something you're willing to talk about on this show?
All right, this is why it matters. Is because I love hip hop. Like I love like black culture, everything about black culture. I love because of how much it influences us and how much it shapes who we are. And when it's done
Mhm.
right, damn it, it's done right. You know what I mean? Like early Kanye was conscious rap done right. J. Cole is the more modern conscious rap done right. You feel me? Like when it and as much as we try to like downplay like the effect and the importance of hip hop and the importance of like
Mhm.
our music, um, that shit actually shape our soul. It touches us like internally. Like it controls how we think and what we think about and what matters and what's okay. And even though we're not thinking about that consciously, really like we're getting what's considered acceptable by what's being placed on our spirit by this music, right? Like music shapes a lot of how we understand ourselves and understand us as a people and what we look like and what we sound like. That type of shit matters. So
Sure.
the people that make that type of music should be held to a particular standard. If you have the ability to move the hearts, minds, and souls of people, you need to be under a motherfucking microscope because that you got too much power already in that
Mm.
instance. You feel me? Because like again, somebody like Diddy, who back in the I've never been a Diddy fan ever, and not
Sure.
be and this was before the sex. Nigga, just look back at every artist. This had to be like 2010, 11, or 12 probably. I'm arguing with the homie She. Like nigga, he's like Diddy's the greatest like executive, whatever. No, he's not. Look at his like look at the. There's nobody in from Bad Boy that had multiple albums like that with Bad Boy, other than like what Biggie and like 112. Niggas didn't thrive at Bad Boy, so that was already like a red flag for me. Why don't none of your artists fuck with you after you rock out?
Right.
And that should matter to us because it's like if we looking at 112, like damn, 112 don't fuck with Diddy no more. Like they made magic. You know what I'm saying? Why do niggas leave? That type of shit matter to me because of a nigga like She being like, hey, he the GOAT because of what he means to the culture. So although I could care less about who he dating, who he fucking on, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, whatever who he got on his arms at whatever red carpet event. What matters to me is like what impact do you leave on the overall culture, on what we take in? And if you leaving like a trail of dead artists who really ain't had no career after you, really they all broke. You feel me? Like they was like Craig Mack, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
died, broke, penniless. You know what I'm saying? Like when and you got Diddy that's just like living at the that's a problem. Period. You know what I mean? You should because you got too much control and sway. Like Bad Boy is like a staple in hip hop culture. That
Right.
means something. So what was the impact of that if it meant something? So that's the only thing that gets me drawn in. You know what I'm saying? Pulled in. Same thing with Bishop T.D. Jakes. Like for example, I still consider myself a Christian because niggas are Christians. That's how we go. I'm not
Yeah.
alienating myself from my grandmother because of that. So I look at Christian leaders from a different light, bro.
Yeah.
Like who you are and what you represent in the culture matters. TD Jakes is a name in the culture. The Potter's House is a name in the culture. So I'm only listening and tapped in because it's like as somebody that has a grasp on them hearts, minds, and souls of the people, you got to be held accountable. And I can't completely remove myself if I'm gonna be holding you accountable for the shit that you're doing. So that's how I look at
That's
it.
real. That's real. That's real. I mean, when you even talk about, to the culture, how significant TD Jakes is to the culture, he's escaped the culture. He has transcended the culture. He is a cornerstone of like American politics. When you look at the cosigns, that politicians want to get for the connection that they have to Black popular culture, they're gonna look to
They go
TD
to TD
Jakes.
Jakes.
But even outside of that, like he's been able to not just be the Black leader, but to be one. I think I saw a recent like infograph that showed that he's like in the top three religious earners, like spiritual leaders earners in this country. And when I
And the
say top three, I'm talking about
only two above them is white people.
it's two white dudes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and the top 10 list is a whole bunch of other white dudes. You know what I'm
And
saying?
then and
So
like Diddy was like that too. Diddy was vote or die. Diddy is like, I'm sending $1 million to earn your leisure so black people can learn financial literacy. That
mhm.
like they tapped themselves into all these places where black people are tapped into. So yeah, so that means that we gotta hold you accountable. We gotta question what you leaving behind.
Very much so. I mean, and I think in a world where you transcend those spaces and start to get into spaces with other folks, we also got to hold you accountable because you become an ambassador and a representative for who we are in all those other spaces. So we can't just kind of let you slip
Mm-hmm.
and slide and do what you want to do either. Like the
Mm-hmm.
plot is thickening.
Facts.
And so, like, I guess the reason why I care, I guess mine is quick and easy and a little bit more messy than that. Because I'm like I'm in and not of. I feel like a lot of shit. Like I be in the mix and my ear be to the ground, but I don't really be caring about it. It just be. I think it's the Gemini in me. It's the thinker in me. It's the people watcher in me that be like tapped in. But I think I just be fascinated to see that all these people really do live regular ass lives just like we do. It's just as messy and just as murky and just as problematic, if not more, and probably even more. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I
Jonathan
think it's
Majors talk
terrible.
about I'm gonna kill myself.
You know what I mean? Like, so
It's not
textbook.
funny.
You know what I
It's
mean?
not
Like,
funny.
you really want to make these people more important. But no, like, I mean, the seriousness of that and the severity of that aside, he's not the first person or the last person who's going to try to use that as a means to manipulate somebody into giving him attention. So it's just like, it don't matter. You can give people millions of dollars and personal chefs and trainers and voice coaches and VIP access and shit, and they still just act
PR
like simple
training.
ass people, PR,
Yeah.
all of that, and it goes all
Yeah.
out the window when you get in your feelings. And so I think it just really is a case study about how money don't change shit and don't really do what you think it do.
Don't change
And it'll
nothing.
change some things and it'll
How
turn
you
some
the
things
next
around.
Denzel? You the next Denzel, and you telling this white woman you gonna
And
kill
get caught up.
yourself.
Another one of my favorite stories I've been watching is like the Zion Williamson, Anthony Edwards, damn Tyreek Hill. This nigga got three baby mamas. Two of his kids was born in like the last 2 months. He just got married 3 weeks ago. He got like 7 kids, bro.
That is
Like,
so irresponsible though.
and so
Like
the
it's
conversation on my timeline been like, how do you fall for that? That is textbook like dumb nigga moves. Like, how is nobody preparing you for these types of issues that you're facing? And so it's hard to look away because I just be like, you stupid. You are the same, and but you have so many more resources to avoid this. You have so much more mentorship, so many more opportunities to not have to deal with these regular people issues, but you choose them anyway.
but you choose them, and I think that's what, because like when it comes to celebrities, I do think that there is a aspect of like these are people, right? I think one of the more
When it's
very
also
like
when it's at the end of the day,
yeah, they're people, right? And so on one hand, you want to be like you are valuable, right? Like you're not perfect. You
mm-hmm.
will like as a celebrity, you're still a person, and you gonna make mistakes. But nigga, when you making regular nigga mistakes though, like it's a nigga that all of the like I think about them niggas that show their paycheck and how much child support coming out their check. You supposed to be like, oh damn, that's fucked up. But it's really
Right?
like, my nigga, why do you have that many baby mamas?
How?
Why, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I get the sympathetic aspect, but then at the same time, it's like, nigga, that you had a choice. You feel me? Like, and so it's like I'm looking at Tyrone, and Tyrone is like, yeah, that's what happened with Tyrone. But with
Yeah.
Jonathan, with Tyreek, with Zion, like y'all niggas have so many people around y'all that's
Anthony
telling
Edwards.
y'all, and the Anthony Edwards, when you got one woman that got pregnant by multiple NBA players, like one woman, multiple NBA players, she's not the problem. You niggas are. What? Fool
Not the
me
problem.
once. You
Yeah.
niggas come
Come on.
from celebrities, or athletes specifically, come from a you will be targeted, you will be hunted. These bitches is gonna come after you.
I
Like they
know they
go,
telling y'all that at the facility. Y'all practices ain't all X's and O's, man. They got people coming in. They got damn not alumni, what they call them, retired players coming in to holler at
yeah, well that's
y'all.
still
And
technically alumni. Yeah. Retired players,
But
yeah, yeah.
they coming in to holler at y'all about the do's and don'ts and how not to fall for the trap. And not to mention, I know somebody been telling you this since you was high school when you started looking like a prospect and you needed to keep your nose clean enough to get through high school and college to make it to the league. So how do you go through these different? This is not new to you. Is my point. People, the whole notion, because let's not pretend like it don't happen to somebody trying to, you know what I'm saying, get you caught up, has been probably real to you since you was a little teeny bopper and was, on the JV squad and you start scoring one too many points. Some little girls been on your toes since then. They've been on your
Since
heels since then.
then,
And
since
you ain't
then.
ready to play yet. That's amazing to me.
I mean, to
But
the
listen,
point. The last
go ahead.
thing on this point, and I'm gonna let you transition. We've kind of beat this horse, but it's a horse that need to be beat. God damn it, because these niggas ain't learned the lesson. But the last thing I'm gonna say, y'all niggas didn't got caught up so bad that women are getting famous just by having kids by you niggas.
It's wild.
Brittany Renner is only known for getting tossed up. But a nigga will have her on the podcast for in a hot second. While y'all looking at her like a toss, she the one she got a bag off you niggas already. She able to live the rest of her life based off what some NFL nigga gonna pay her or NBA nigga. An athlete is gonna
Yeah.
pay her. You know what I'm saying? Because that nigga wasn't smart enough to be like, ugh.
And then y'all got the nerve to be mad at her. Like y'all
You got
wouldn't
the
take a play and run with it. You know what I'm saying?
man, listen.
I don't know. The game is the game.
Fool
When
me
it comes to
once, right? But go
that.
ahead, Trace. Go ahead.
All
You can
right,
transition.
so I guess my next question, real quick, and we can answer this question quickly so we can kind of round it out.
Yeah.
Like I started out saying, we got this bombshell video from a nobody, no sources, no clear kind of understanding of why we should take her word, what information backs this up, nothing. But
Nothing.
knowing that part of the reason we took so long for us to know, because I mean, like I'm gonna take an aside. I want to look at the comments from J Universe and KJ. J Universe says, I've been hearing Diddy was a predator for all of my 30 years of living. It's crazy how everything everyone been saying is coming to light. KJ says same, as well as the speculation of him possibly being behind the murders of Pac and Big. So it's been taking a long time. It's a lot of power, a lot of money, a lot of fame, a lot of success, a
Time
lot of
makes fools
influence.
of us all.
Hello, they've been pushing these stories down. And so all of a sudden we see the floodgates popping off. And now we know who knows. Now everybody like, who knows what else can come out. Let's not mention, I just seen on my timeline today, bro. Vin Diesel, 2010, his assistant said he pushed her up against the wall and masturbated in front of her. I'm talking about every single day. Every single day, it's a new story. Jamie Foxx had a little story about some speculation out there. That done dwindled away and went away for him real quick. But that's been in the last couple months. We know that power and fame turns the flame up, it turns it down. It makes some stuff in the light 1 minute and disappear the next minute. So when we look at Shorty on the TikTok video, who is the person who exposed all this stuff about TD Jakes, who add layers to the situation about Diddy, like, what is your take on how we should kind of interpret this? Because some people are saying she played herself, her ass finna get caught up in some slander and some libel charges. They finna come and ring her. You know what I'm saying? And that whole allegedly shit is not gonna protect her. That's straight up slander, and TJ's gonna come get her ass. So you got that side, but you also got the side where people is hiding info. We see
That's
that,
true.
the proof of it.
Yeah,
So
that's
what do
true.
we do with this social media age where we got news coming from everywhere and we don't know what to do with it?
Yo, I'm gonna be for real. Like, we have gotten to the point where niggas really need to take a step back. Because as much as we hated mainstream media, there was one thing in mainstream media that social media does not have. Journalistic integrity. Okay?
Yeah.
We are at a point where content creators that talk about society, talk about things that happen in our culture, care more about virality, whether or not they can get famous off this take, how much money they can make off this take, than accuracy. Because what they know is that it don't matter if it's true or not. Once it make the rounds, it makes the rounds. And the correction, the apology, the take back, none of that shit is never enough to be able to undermine now the fact that that shit that made the rounds. Because from here on out, true or not, TD Jakes is going to be accused of getting his back broke by some niggas at a Diddy party. True or not. Like that's just the reality of where we at, and it's the danger in social media dictating how we get our news because we see this TD Jakes and Diddy nonsense right next to MSNBC talking about the election, right next to CBS News talking about, you know what I'm saying, like something about immigration or something about, you know what I mean, like shit that it's like shit that's actual journalism. When that, like, the legitimate journalism is, and the only reason I say legitimate is because sourcing. Those are the only things that matter. You can't get on NBC and just start spewing out shit about an individual and you ain't got proper sourcing. They're gonna sit back and be like, do you have any evidence of any of this? No? Get the fuck out of my face. That's the only, and I have the same criticism of mainstream media that everybody else has. But journalistic integrity, to some degree, where the sourcing is important, man, when it comes to celebrity news, the sourcing does not fucking matter.
So,
People
but let me
run
ask
with
you
the
this.
accusation.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But my question is a little bit more, I think, complex and complicated. And I want you to, and I don't think you have to have a perfect answer for it because I don't know the perfect answer for it.
I'm gonna
But
have a
I'm
perfect answer
struggling
for it.
with, get out of here. I'm struggling with the whistleblowing component of the way that news, especially important news, happens,
On what
right?
side?
Because I think, huh?
Oh, go ahead. Explain like you was about to say.
There's a level. I think the context that we're in, because I contextualize this on purpose, right? There's
Yeah.
power, there's influence, there's secrecy, there's attempts to silence at play, which there always is when
Yeah.
scandal is afoot,
Right. Right.
right? So we still have to be careful with how we talk about things, but we literally are having people whistleblowing, right? These are abused people or people who have information that has been suppressed, trying to make it breathe. And so I guess I don't know what my question is. I think my question might be, so then what standard do we have or hold for social media in a world where we're literally talking about examples where people have been silenced over time?
So
Like,
this is the thing about that, right? So because we've arrived in an era where, like, there's a very thin line between conspiracy and reality, very thin. Because,
mm-hmm,
like what I say with black people, most of our conspiracies are based in reality. The banks don't fuck with us. That's not a conspiracy. That's statistically proven. You know what I'm saying?
true.
Like, black people living in one area makes everybody else devalue it. That's not a conspiracy. That's statistically proven, right? Crack was put into the black neighborhoods by the CIA. That's not a conspiracy. That was proven through testimony, right?
Sure.
So when conspiracies and, like, reality is so close together, we are more inclined to lean towards a conspiracy because we think it undermines power, regardless of how legitimate those claims are. And the problem with that is that there, like I always say, truth is stranger than fiction. The shit that y'all coming up with, I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
reality is much worse. But when the basis of how we trying to challenge these people are these bullshit minuscule conspiracies, as opposed to, like, how they actually moving, I don't think the Cassie shit is a conspiracy. I think that ain't no, like, what's happening with Diddy is no different than what happened with Harvey Weinstein. People have been making jokes about it for years, and then boom, somebody is like steps out and then bust the whole shit open. That's how that
Sure.
shit go. That's how that shit go. But what happens though is we become controlled opposition when we allow for charlatans to just run around the internet blaming, like, saying everybody's gay, everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. Because then these same people that's actually involved in bullshit could sit back and be like, no, no, you see, that doesn't even make sense. That's not, they're just running with things and all that type of shit. We have to have some type of journalistic integrity, even when it
This
comes
is
to viral whistleblowing.
this is true. I'm gonna complete this thought with something that I see in the comments and that I do want to bring up, and then I'm gonna close it out with my last question for you. So Andrea actually points out, she asked the question, do y'all listen to Jaguar Wright or what Jaguar Wright been saying, or is she crazy or both? And it's wild that you say that and point out Jaguar Wright, because if y'all know anything about her, she is, I think, a former R&B backup singer that's been, like, again, trying to whistleblow on people for like the last, I think I've been sitting on my timeline for
For a
like five,
while.
10 years, just
Yeah.
being telling stories, reaccounting old things. I've heard her tell stories about Mary J. Blige. I've heard her tell stories about uh of course this TD Jakes situation or this Diddy situation. I've heard her recount stories
Oh,
about
she been
Angie
talking about Diddy for
Stone.
years. She been talking about Diddy for
Yeah, just a
years.
whole bunch of people. Like Andrea said, I guess he calls Diddy. She called Diddy honeycomb. So here's what I say, and here's where you like you got to come, with a certain standard and a certain line. I agree with that insofar as like you the only person who is dropping this like bombshell of information. But if you can combine, these types of accusations with like the fact that I mean, just the ultimate idea that everybody can't be lying. Everybody's having some interesting
Right.
version of some of the same shit
Everybody
makes it
can't be lying.
hard. You know what I'm saying? That's what I wanted to get to. Was like Jaguar Wright said it, and then all of a sudden it was some prophet that was on. Uh, that I've been seeing her video pop up and down my timeline forever. That was talking about the fact that Diddy was gonna get caught up from some
I seen that
device,
too.
or Kim Porter had some phone, and this was months
Yeah.
ago, bro. Like,
This was
so
months
it just
ago.
it boggles the mind, and really forces
Did
you
she
to
have
be
like
like, but
short hair?
everybody
Like it
not.
was a lady short hair?
No, she had like a longer hair and like a train or a veil or something over her head. She had like white on or something. But
She was
it's
light
been a
skinned?
couple different. No, we might be talking about two different videos. I feel like she was
I was
like
talking about
more
the psyche. I
brown
thought I
skin.
seen the psyche shit, but I'm thinking about some. I may be thinking about somebody else. Go ahead.
But I mean, just imagine if it's two videos out there with people like
Yeah. Yeah.
this nigga.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what makes it
Yeah.
weird, and that's why I think in this time of social media news breaking, you know what I'm saying? Like it's hard to say one moment to the next what we got to take and what we leave because we know people are opportunists. I'm not saying that they don't jump on moments to like be like, oh yeah, did you hear about this one? And kind of pile on for selfish reasons or whatever reasons, but we don't always know. Here is my last question, and this is me putting on my little communication scholar PR background hat.
Yeah.
TD Jakes.
Okay.
Or shit, really, I say UTD Jakes. I ain't gonna say or
Yeah. Let's
Tyler
say
Perry or
TD
whatever.
because
Let's just
Diddy's compromised. Goddamn it. So
exactly. And I think Tyler Perry doesn't really have the same group of people, the same audience that he is accountable to. But bishops
right.
have churches. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Potter House pulls in $22 million or something like that a year. That's outside of the money TD Jakes earns by himself. You know what I'm saying? But that is a lion's share of, I think, some of that bread. And so, just in terms of having a flock, and even outside of that, let's talk PR. Let's talk public relations. Let's talk about what your strategy would be if you was TD Jakes. Like, do you address this shit at all? Do you give it any attention? Subpoint to that question, do you address it maybe not publicly, but to your congregation? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the textbook or the handbook for when shit like this pops off. Do you just pretend
And
like these
when it comes
conversations
to
haven't happened all week?
social media, it's like if 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 the opposition at the moment is just some chick making claims on social media, hell no, you don't address it. Hell, I ain't even as big as TD Jakes. And it's niggas that be talking shit about me on YouTube. I'll be damned if I mention them niggas on my podcast. Like, you niggas is meaningless. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like with TD Jakes, it's like, oh, somebody's making claims about me on the internet. Like, true or false, really. Like, I mean, because, like, what somebody do behind closed doors is their business. But true or false, if I'm TD Jakes, it's like, why the fuck would I respond to some internet shit? That brings me to the level of internet shit. That means that once I respond to some internet shit, I legitimize internet shit. Like, as somebody who's had like fake internet beefs and niggas try to call me out, like if I got the like if I look at a nigga like, bro, you only talking shit about me because you think you building some type of capital with some niggas on this platform. So with TD Jakes, it's like you talking shit about me because my name can bring the type of capital that you want on your platform. Why legitimize it? Because my response is gonna turn into something else for you to talk about. I'm not gonna give you nothing else to talk about. I ain't gonna give you no more conversation. You know what I mean? Because like I mean, and I hate to say it like that because it's like if niggas is whistleblowing and they getting called out for being, you know what I'm saying, for having it like for being bad people in power, and I get that, but true or false. And I think if we operate from the standpoint that it's false, it's like if I respond to it, I give it the legitimacy that it needs. You know what I
Right.
mean? Because I'm the legitimate person in this instance. It's a bunch of people that's willing to believe any type of bullshit that somebody say about anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got Pizzagate, you have celebrities is kidnapping kids and drinking their blood. You have all of this type of shit that niggas love to just engage in because it's like it's a famous person, they must be up to some bullshit. I've heard people actually say, like, yeah, they famous. They had to do some. You know what I mean? Like, for example, one of my our mutual friends, one of my friends that we become mutual friends with, right? He's achieved a certain level of success.
Mm-hmm.
One of me and him, our mutual friend, had somebody approach our mutual friend to be like, that nigga sold his soul to the devil or something. He Illuminati. It's the only way to get to that type of. You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
getting to any level of success will have. I get asked, are Democrats paying me? Just because I make liberal, you know what I'm saying, like leftist content. Like I wish,
Right.
motherfucker, like you know what I mean. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's always a nigga that's willing to run with a conspiracy on the internet. The best thing to do is ignore it. Just be like, all right, that's some internet shit.
It's true.
As soon as I speak on it, it become real.
I think I don't disagree with that philosophy. I just, people of that stature have their own personal Olivia Popes, you know what I'm saying, for when shit get weird. And I wonder if I would want to be a fly on the wall. I would want to be on three-way on mute just to hear some of the strategic conversations or how they discuss what happens when the internet get to doing what the internet do. You know what I'm saying? Because the one thing about it is the court of public
Putting
opinion. We
dirt
talk
on
about
a
it all
nigga
the time.
name.
That shit
Mm-hmm.
is unforgiving. You know what I'm saying? And so,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the type of damage control, if any damage control, as a communication scholar, what do we say? You cannot not communicate. So when you don't make an announcement, that also communicates something to people. For some people, that's an admission of guilt. You trying to be dodgy. You trying to whatever. For some people, that's a move of strength that you are being strong and not addressing the bullshit, kind of like what you said. You know what I'm saying? So there's
Yeah.
just so many ways to interpret, and that you have to think about how people are interpreting your responses or the ways that you move or what you're gonna do.
But the one thing that matters to me is, can I give them more to go off of?
Yeah,
You be able to make up all the shit you want to make up, but when I start responding, they give you something to dissect.
that's true.
You know what I mean?
Because now
So
you get to interpret my tone. You can
all
say
that,
I sound defensive or sound
all that,
whatever. You get to, I didn't apologize, or if I did apologize, what I'm apologizing for, or why it's too
right?
long, why it's short. If I
It's
put something
always
in the
gonna
note
be something
section,
wrong.
yeah. If I just post, I mean, people, I think about people who have shit and then they go to the note section and post their note section in their story or something. It's like, nah, nigga, like you just go, you need to look at the camera and say that shit. Like you trying to, whatever. It's just the
Stand
court
on
of public
business.
opinion. Is that it again? What I will say between Diddy, Christian Keys, whatever the hell is going on with Tupac, Keke Palmer, and them. And more importantly, not won't say more importantly, but also on a lot of people's radar is this Jeffrey Epstein shit.
Ooh, that's
He
about to be
is
some other shit.
recently, um, I think 130 people were on the list or something like that of people who had made trips out to Epstein Island. 13 people on that list have been working to get their names excluded or redacted from the report that has now been assured to be released probably at the start of the year, where those names are going to be released. And of those 13 people who was like, please don't put my name out there, please redact it out they only granted 10 of them. So I'm sorry, they only granted 3 of them. So there are 3 people who we ain't gonna know about because they were successful, but there are 10 people who just really didn't want to be known, and on with another 120 people who we about to learn about was out there at that island. It's already suspicion, first of all, that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton are 2 of those 3 people whose names probably won't be released
Without
because
a
they were
doubt.
from.
Yeah.
Um, but Chris Tucker is in these conversations. Who else went out there, took their asses out there? Elon Musk is in these conversations. It's a bunch of different prominent names and just
That's
very
a whole
successful.
nother episode, y'all. Jeffrey Epstein on that Epstein list.
I only bring it up to say, honey, 2024 is not about to start quietly. Do you hear what I'm saying to
Uh,
you? It's about to
yeah.
constantly be something going on. Whether you look or whether you turn away is up to you. We've kind of explained why we do a combination of both, but don't let that timeline get you messed up, and don't you press record before you have factual information about what you're about to say, because that's when
Please.
it gets a little
Please.
tricky.
Yes,
Gets a little
please.
tricky.
Hey, at least anything that you about to rant about on the internet, this is the last thing I say to you. You can close this out.
Yeah. Okay.
At least have 2 or 3 sources. Don't tell me that you learned from watching one video on TikTok what somebody done told you, one video on YouTube, somebody's reel, somebody's story. Have multiple different sources, not a bunch
Yeah.
of people using the same source. It's just a step. It's a step, right? We need to get better with
As academics, we definitely that is the standard approach to
for sure.
confirming information before you try to assert that it's true.
That's it.
Shout out to the homie Melodious in the building. Good morning to you,
Hey,
wherever you are.
Melodious. Hey,
Uh,
our European,
I think
our
Hawaii
partner
is
in
the place.
Europe. Nah, I think it's
Europe
Europe.
is Europe.
Yeah,
I could be
Melodious
mixing it
in
up.
Europe.
Melodious clarified, but wherever you are, we are so happy that you found your way back to
KJ
us. Melodious,
said,
go ahead.
nah, KJ said release them names, all of them.
Release all of them. He said all of the names, and I agree
Yeah,
with that. Melodious commented the issue is if it's true and it comes out before he says anything, he's gonna lose a lot. I think it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. Say something before, say something after. Your bed, you're gonna be cooked. That bed gonna be
right.
made. No pun intended. If that business come out,
France.
France kicking it in France. Greetings to France. We puis aller au toilette s'il vous plaît. That's the only thing I remember from French class back in the day. And I did just ask you if I can go to the bathroom, please. Um,
The crap
J
method. What you
Universe
know about the
says,
what you know about the crap method? So I gotta look that shit up.
and I'm unfamiliar, particularly, but as an
Oh,
educator, I might have to drop that on the people.
okay. So the crap method, because like our method is just more. Can we use it in debate? Like that would be like our
Mhm.
like legitimate sourcing. You feel me? Is it a source that would be considered legitimate in debate? But the crap test, as introduced by J Universe, is currency. So what is the timeliness of the information?
Absolutely.
Relevance, the importance of the information. Ironically, it's called crap. This supposed to like it's supposed to be something that's important. That's called crap. But
How else will
I
you
got
get kids to remember it? You tell them crap. That's a great mnemonic
yeah.
device.
I'm not gonna forget it. Authority. So who's the source of the information? Some chick on TikTok talking about Bishop TD Jakes be getting knocked down. They ain't really an authority, even though it's
True.
interesting.
True.
Accuracy, the reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the content, and purpose. What is the reason that the information exists? I think that's the one that people ignore the most because a lot of the
Hmm.
bullshit propaganda we be running with, it starts with the question, why was this information introduced? And that's both in social media and in other forms of mainstream popular media because like they say in sports media, nothing was released without somebody wanting it out there.
Absolutely.
Nothing was
And
leaked
so
without somebody wanting it out there. So
in a world full of shade rooms and world stars and no jumpers and all of these platforms, which is a whole nother conversation because now we got to talk about the people behind these platforms, behind these keyboards who's letting this information out. Just because you got a profile picture up there don't mean nothing. A lot of times these people are able to hide their hands and throw rocks. So we got to see. Shout out to KJ. Definitely, he said more than me. Toy, I respect it most def. I'm a French. I'm sorry, I'm a German and Spanish girl. That's my language proficiency. But with that being said,
I
listen.
speak nigga.
thank, thank you, Dominique. Um,
And shout out
it's
to Miss
a lot of
Ma'am.
love to y'all.
Miss Ma'am just
Yeah,
joined
Miss
us.
Ma'am
Yeah.
slid in here. Good evening. Definitely run us back. We had some technical difficulties toward the beginning, but we figured it out. Got it smoothed out. Had some really great conversation today. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to regular Joe. Fuck it. It's great to have you in here. We just got the eyeballs, but it was nice to see you tap in. Dina, what's the word? My sister was in here. Tiffany, what's up? Tori, shoot. Every Chris, you know what I'm saying? The family, the gang was here, and we appreciate y'all. Listen, if you watching this post the actual recording, jump in the comments and still leave your name, where you're from, say what's up. We definitely want to show y'all some love. Chop Nation is real to us. And we're closing out a whole season, moving on into a whole new season. So our end of the year show is coming up next week. And we definitely don't want y'all to miss out on that. So be here next Thursday. We're gonna kick it, close out this year, send everybody into 2024 feeling good, feeling great, and get on the same page as Shop Nation. Okay. So thank y'all for popping in tonight. Make sure y'all tap in with us tomorrow. Plug any last words from Tony's folks loose.
Hey man, I'm kind of annoyed that it's more of y'all here for all of this TD Jakes Diddy talk than when we was talking about the Supreme Court. But it's all good. If y'all watching it on the
Don't be annoyed.
playback, y'all go. If y'all missed any of this, go to the beginning. We talked about the
Hit
Supreme
that
Court.
thumbs
That
up on
shit
the way
made me.
out. We love y'all. Thank y'all for sending y'all support. Be good, be safe. Enjoy this holiday season. Enjoy your family and your friends. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy
Happy
week into a new
holidays.
year. We're gonna talk to y'all before the new year.
Happy
But
Kwanzaa. Or is it Merry Kwanzaa? This nigga very
Listen,
Fonzie.
follow the
You know,
instructions of the shirt. Love a little bit more. That's all we saying right here. We out of here. We'll see y'all next week.
peace.
Peace.